Hello, mate.
Hello, mate. It's Wednesday. That means only one thing. What is it, mate?
It's Spiritual Talk live.
It is, and we're live.
Yeah, and people are coming on. So we had a bit of a nightmare with Facebook yesterday, didn't we? But we're okay. People are finding us. That's really good. So just let us know you're there, guys, in your comments. That'd be really great.
Hi, Heather. Good to see you.
Heather's on already. Awesome.
So at least we sorted our situation out, so we are back again.
Yeah, and we've created a separate group as well, so we're going to stop pestering people. So, hi, Julie. Hi, Jill.
Hi, Jill. Hi, Joe.
Awesome. So, we created a private group. So, rather than keep pestering everyone every week, come on the show. It will get out there. And guys, you can also share it amongst friends, people that might be interested as well, which would be really useful.
We have over 130 already. We have over 130 already, so it's all good. So it makes life a little bit easier, doesn't it, for everyone?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Hi, Mary.
So, how's the weather down there, mate?
Absolute scorcher, and I'm boiling with this jacket on, but I'm going to battle through. So that's the main thing.
Me too. So we've got a couple of special guests here this evening. I'm really looking forward to interviewing them tonight.
Definitely looking forward to this one. So from South Ireland, aren't they?
Yes. Kilkenny. I might stand corrected on that. I'm sure it's Kilkenny. Am I right? I think I'm right. I'm not sure. I probably pronounced that wrong, knowing me. But the other thing I was going to say, mate, great jacket.
Thanks ever so much, Paul.
You tie as well. You getting married or something?
I just thought I'd make an effort each week, mate.
It's looking really good, mate. Looking really good.
But I've been melting it at the end, so we'll see.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see you again, mate. It's this time again, and we go straight into getting the guests in straight away.
Let's go for it, mate. I'm looking forward to this. So keep your ears open, everyone.
Yeah, here we go. Introducing John and Miriam Fitzgerald. Hi, guys.
Hi. Hi, Miriam. How you doing tonight?
Fine, thank you. Can I just say it's not Kilkenny, it's Killiney.
Killiney.
Completely different county.
Is it? Oh,
yeah.
It's that pronunciation of ours, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, Kilkenny's right in the middle, more or less, or near enough middle.
So how do you pronounce it again?
Killiney. So just like Killiney.
Okay.
Killiney.
Okay.
South Dublin.
That's a good job I didn't put that in sat nav trying to find you guys.
Yeah. Some people put into Killarney, which is even worse, which is the opposite side of Ireland. That's an even bigger one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
just totally confusion.
Thanks for joining us this evening, and it's great to have you on the show. So we're going to see how this pans out. We'll leave it up to the world of spirit as well, but we are going to ask a few questions as well and get the ball rolling. But my first question to you is, how did you basically find yourself in the world of mediumship? How did it all sort of develop for you both?
Get John to start.
I suppose it opened up more so for myself. About 11 years ago, I was very lucky. I am very lucky and blessed in life to have had a good mom and dad who always cared for me, loved me, and we worked together side by side with my dad and whatever. I had a great relationship. And I suppose my world to a point came tumbling down when he was diagnosed being terminally ill. He was in his 80s, so he had a good life, but I suppose I was left with the dilemma of picturing or trying to understand what life would be like without him not being physically here. Having been very young when grandparents died, and coming from a small family, I had no real experience in how I was going to deal with what I now term as preemptive grief. So that's what I moved into, a state of, I suppose, confusion, very much what I call being in the fog, trying to cope the best I could, knowing that I still had to support my mom, my wife, our children, a very pressurized job, knowing that my dad's time on this lifetime, was slim and far between. They lived with us for 11 years and our children were quite young. So there was always, we have 3 sons, they're adults now in their 20s. So there was always 7 in our family. And trying to explain to them that their granddad was not very well and basically he was dying. So coming to terms with that, so it opened up so many different things for me. Miriam said to me I should go and see her eldest brother. Miriam's the youngest of 11, who doesn't live too far away, Tom. What I didn't know was that he was one of the not students. He's
on the board.
He's on the board for the Healing Trust.
Yeah,
formerly known as the National NSFH, National Federation of Spiritual Healers. So he's a great listener. He's a great guy. He's more like a brother than a brother-in-law to me, to be honest. But we had many conversations. Every Wednesday after work, I wouldn't come home. I would go straight to his house, just himself and his wife in a beautiful garden up in the mountains. And I used to chat to him about life after death, reincarnation, communication, all these different types of things. And gave me a great sense of peace and solace, or whatever. It started me on my healing journey. He also was very well connected with mediums in the area, different holistic teachers, practitioners, aromatherapists, all different types, different people. And one of his mediumistic friends shared with him that she could see that I was mediumistic, which she shared with me a few days later by phone call, and I laughed. But I became quite intrigued, and I started Googling mediumship, and that brought me on to spiritualism. That spiritualism is a religion, closely associated with mediumship. There's spiritualist churches in the UK, but there was none in Ireland. But there was a centre not too far from where we lived. So I found my way to the Spiritualist Union of Ireland in Clondalk in South Dublin, about 10 minutes away from where I worked. And I started to go on a Sunday to see, just to sit in as part of the congregation, if you like, the divine service. Saw mediums working, and within a couple of Sundays, I started to sit in circle, and then started to, I suppose, open up my own and revisit psychic intuitiveness that I felt I would have had through life. A lot of things started to make sense. A lot of things fell into place. It brought back a memory of when I was 3 years old, when I lived in England, living in an old house, of seeing an old lady night after night after night coming down the hallway towards my bedroom. I could see through her. She just smiled at me. I was scared, terrified, because I couldn't explain it. My dad used to jump out of bed and check on me, see was I okay. No one else in the family could see it. So there was many synchronicities. Things started to fall into place and make sense. So from that, then really Miriam, was intrigued and interested as to how I was getting on and what I was doing. And it was, as they say, surprising myself with the results of knowing things, working with things like psychometry. Once I started out on the healing journey as well, when I was working within the healing modality, I was able to sense and pick up things intuitively through another person, through their thoughts, their feelings, just physical illnesses and stuff like that. So it's just like when they say that when you start, on your pathway, doors will open. It's like they all opened at once. And I was pulled and drawn in my own energetic, in an energetic way through so many things. I couldn't get enough of it. I had to get books. I had to go to workshops. I had to go to Theatre College. I have to talk to other mediums and whatever. I couldn't get enough of it. And I was just soaking up information like a sponge. And within 2 years, I was on platform giving my first message. So from someone, as I say, and I was 50 years of age, 49 years of age, when this opened up to me, as such.
Certainly for myself, story slightly different. From Ireland is a predominantly Catholic country, so mediumship is a very closeted thing over here, or certainly it was back then. Whilst people had no issue with psychics and things like that, the term medium had very definite connotations. So when John I would have been very intuitive myself in terms of my own life experience, and different events that had happened. So when John had began his journey, at the time I was currently, involved in further education. So whilst I was attempting to support him, look after, 2 elderly parents in palliative care who were living with us and 3 small children, I wasn't too forthright in my, I wasn't too comfortable to step into the mediumistic platform mediumship, evidential mediumship. But I did find through the discussions, because John and I would have spoken a lot, and through different things that we read at the time, was the richness that surrounds spiritualism, particularly in terms of its history in the UK and in America, and the philosophy aspect of it. And those were things I found very intriguing, because by nature I'm quite a rational person, and I tend to be very analytical, so very logical. So I would always tend to question things, and I was quite uncomfortable because there was such, unfortunately, that I had witnessed firsthand a lot of what I would term bad mediumship. So I had no intention to go down that road of the evidential aspect of it, but I was very keen to explore the philosophy, the richness of that aspect of it.
Yeah.
So I worked with John, and it developed from there, really.
Oh, that's really interesting, guys. The other thing we didn't actually mention is the fact that you're both ministers. So some people at home will be sitting there thinking, what is a minister? I know you're with the Spiritualist Union of Ireland, and I believe you're on the pathway with the SNU within the UK. So can you just explain a little bit about what that is and what that means for you, and what that entitles in that role for you, if that makes sense?
Yeah. John, do you want to say that?
Yeah, I suppose it's, as I said earlier, so many areas within, mediumship, within spiritualism. But for us, we would see ourselves, and say it quite openly, we see ourselves as God-centered mediums. And we firmly believe that doing the work of the Spirit, as in being in service, that to us is it's quite a big deal, if you like, to us, to be in service. And we look at it because at this stage within our journey, like, we don't need any further proof of life after death. We long since satisfied that curiosity, or whatever. We've been given proof beyond belief. We've seen, heard, and witnessed things, just incredibly. So it's sitting with Spirit, or sitting for us, with God, with that power, that intelligence, with, as we've come to know, that God of your own understanding, and say, how best now can we serve? How best can we help people in this lifetime? So for us, spiritualism and mediumship is very much about the living, how we can serve humanity, because so many mediums, and it still always puts a smile on my face when we're working, or doing platform, or doing circle work, and that new people will come in and say, good evening, hello, why are you here? My loved one died a few weeks ago, a couple of months ago. I want to know, are they okay? And yet I've never heard a medium ever stand up on the platform and give a message from their loved one to say that they're not okay. They want to know, are you okay?
Yeah.
So I know my mum and dad are fine, and all of our loved ones, we know that they're all okay, and they're free from any pains, ills, sicknesses, whatever, whether mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, or whatever. They're fine. They come back because to bring their love, their support, their healing to us. So we've come to realize it's about helping the people in the here and now. So for us, moving in, being a part of the ministry, we would feel help people more. As you would know yourself, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, you can't fix everybody with a message. You can't heal everybody with a message. Sometimes
we're not meant to either.
People will come and and they'll send you a message. I really need a reading, but they just need a space to talk. They just need to be heard. They just need to be listened to. They just need to know that everything will be okay. We can't guarantee anything. We can't promise anything. As I say, we're not trained as counselors, but I don't think you need any training to listen to somebody. that doesn't take qualification to be that comforting, listening ear, just to hold somebody's hand and just say, it's okay. I hear you. I understand you.
Yeah.
In some cases, we can sympathize, others we can empathize. But to truly do the work of the Spirit, I feel, as we are all intrinsically, we are all spirit ourselves, that we can reach out to what we would see as everyone being equals, our brothers and sisters. How best can we help them? You can't hold everybody by the hand, but you can show them the way. For us, through working within ministry and being involved, certainly in Ireland, within spiritual ceremonies, we undertake a lot of legal wedding ceremonies, official services in Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland, naming ceremonies, funerals. But it's not the be all and end all of what we do. Yes, you take part in divine services. We would run circles, but we work actively within the community. So we have, as I say, our pathways of continuous development. We undertook, a few days course on suicide prevention and awareness and self-harming and things like that, because there's always so much more, you could do. And knowledge and education is powerful, and there's so much, what I would say, free stuff. Some of it you just need to devote your time to it, but it can't be everything to everybody, to everyone. And as we say, we're quite realistic. We're not everybody's cup of tea, and that's fine. We've made some fantastic friends within this work, incredible people we've met, and we've lost a few along the way. But that's life. It's accepting that you're human too, first and foremost.
And also as well, just to kind of build upon, whilst I agree with everything that John has said as well, in terms of, I suppose, to kind of mark a difference between officiants and ministers. Officiants is just someone who performs the official duties. In terms of the Spiritist Union, the title minister is conferred by someone who has just a longer understanding or awareness of that religion, and has worked with that. And that would be important to us, because people will ask, and particularly if you're in a country where you're in that religious minority, because I said, according to the Central Statistic Office, 79.5% of the population still identifies as Roman Catholic. So to understand what we represent, the title is that, nothing more. But it is important to us that we recognise every individual that we work with, that we see, that we hear, that we listen to. And even whilst we might be present for some of the most joyful occasions in people's life, you would be surprised. And I do feel it's something that's part of, because we move into this work, I would feel, and I'm sure John can corroborate or not, but I would feel that soul emanation when you're in the presence of somebody. There's an unspoken awareness, and people tell you things that they've never told anybody else. They could be talking about something for their wedding. They will, tell you their family history or difficulties that way they have, not with an effort. I mean, they're not looking for us to come along and say this, that, and the other. And quite often you'll hear, and both of us have had, I don't know why I've told you that. I've never told anybody that. And sometimes it's just that willingness to sit in the space, to recognize that we see you. Yeah. That's to us what a minute is, that we see people for who they are and let them recognize the beauty of who they are, because the world is always trying to tell you something different.
That is so well. That's so well put. Thank you for that. People are already warming to you guys. Some of the comments that are coming on here, and which is lovely to see. I mean, there's a follow-on question I want to ask, really, but Anthony, I think you've got a couple you want to ask as well, haven't you?
Yeah, if it's to do with following on, Paul, maybe you should go.
Yeah, well, it's just about the whole spirituality aspect of mediumship, really. It kind of follows on from what you were saying, but I didn't want to kind of jump over you, mate. But it kind of follows on a little bit about what you were saying about mediumship being very much a faculty that we could all do as well, because some mediums believe, or some people believe, that mediumship is a gift for certain chosen few. But I feel it's an aspect of the soul that we all have this faculty, but it's through our spirituality that we find this intuitive faculty, and within our subconscious we find all the senses. So, and it's opening that up. And what's my question? I'm going off on a tangent, aren't I? But because I'm quite passionate about it, I really am. Because for me, a lot of people think that they can just come along, do mediumship, and you mentioned about the God-centered approach. And for me, I work from my heart, which for me is pretty much the same thing. I believe in God with all my heart, and I work and I serve spirit, and that's how I see it. And every day when I meditate, I always ask, am I doing this for the right reasons? Okay. And I think as long as I can do that, and if one day he says you've done enough, you can retire, great. But I don't think so. Who knows? But my point is, people don't realize that so much. And you gave a wonderful reading that I'm sorry, I've been stalking you on Facebook, guys. I wanted to know a little bit more about you. And I saw a reading you did for the Spiritualist Union of Ireland, and it was without yourself in the broadcast. It was just looking out of the window, because you said you wanted your words. And it was reading from that book, from mystic to, was it magician to mystic? That's it. Yeah. And it's just so profound. And I kind of wanted to really to kind of emphasize the importance of your spirituality. And for you, the question, what I'm trying to say, do you recognize that the mediumship and the spirituality aspect of us goes together, or do you feel that it's something only a chosen few people can do?
I suppose that's one of the questions, or there's a very divisive line with that statement. Some people are either, you're either born a medium or you can become a medium. And I kind of sit somewhere in the middle, if I'm honest, because certainly there are, in the understanding that I have and the study that I've done, because mediumship is a faculty, it's an aspect of the brain that works. It's a particular part of the brain function, and spirituality is a different type of a thing, because spirituality is very mind-centered, whereas mediumship, in that faculty, it's something that actually occurs in the brain. So I think the difficulty is, so many people confuse the line between giving evidential mediumship and spirituality. And the two are very, very different. We've all been present at communications where information is given, but it's given in a very kind of a bullet format. It's kind of, it's fired out. It's impressive. It can be very accurate, but there's no experience there. And for us, certainly when we're working, mediumship is an experience. You have to be in the presence of, when you've been touched by the spirit, because you feel it. It's not something that is solely based on evidential aspects. There's an expression of the soul that is present, and that touches you. And it doesn't just touch you, it touches the recipient, and it touches everybody in that space. It's something very beautiful. And I think when we lose sight of that, in terms of, focusing on the evidential aspect, which so many mediums are, they can be very impressive in terms of, they can give details, characteristics or things like that. But if there's a reason that communication is taking place, and that's where the divine is present, and we feel that. And if it's devoid of that, it's just showmanship, and it does a disservice to everything, and both of you guys know, you've worked with people, I'm sure, where they have had the experience of being with somebody who has given this evidential, who's done more harm to that person, and left them with something very, very hurtful and distasteful to deal with. So we really have to be careful if we're stepping into that space to know what we're about, because we're dealing with people's loved ones, we're dealing with vulnerable people in front of us, and we call what we call that higher power, we call it God. That's a term that we use. Other people use different terms, but it must go hand in hand with what you do. There has to be an understanding that when you're in service, there's a greater purpose to what we're doing other than making ourselves look good. It should never be about us. By its very definition, the word medium is a conduit. It's something that goes between two things, with spirit, for spirit, to spirit. And we have to be mindful of that. and always recognize that. So that's what it means for us to be in service. And that's why I really like, that reading. It's a fantastic book.
Yeah.
Because it really kind of hallmarks that aspect of it, because it brings both in. And quite often we're so used to seeing one, or we're seeing, we've all been, entertained, and I'm going to use that term very definitely, by mediums. And that's something that I personally would find distasteful. It can be entertaining, but it's not entertainment. And that's something that certainly the teachers that we've had, and with the likes of Minister Janet Parker or Gordon Smith, or, it's something that's been very definite with them, that you have to have that respect and reverence for the spirit world, and, know what we're about.
Yeah.
For us, being awarded or afforded the title medium comes a great responsibility to both worlds, to the living, and something Mr. Janet Parker, has said to us, I love people.
That's her famous saying, yeah,
whether they're living or dead.
Yeah.
And we work, as I say, for both worlds. So again, for us, we're very aware, of getting the occasional no, I'm sure, like yourselves, and that's okay, because mediumship will never be 100% accurate 100% of the time, because we're not perfect. So therefore, the information that we receive, we still, with the best will in the world, still want to put our spin on it. Still, it's as it's coming through our mind, we try to make sense of it before we give it out. Yeah. Where in essence, the purest mediumship, if my dad was coming through a medium who was just giving what he or she received, then I would know in a heartbeat that that's definitely my dad. And that's the difference. But again, going back to your earlier point, Paul, I think it was Gordon Higginson famously said, mediums are made. Mediums are born, not made. But in our understanding, as we're all spirits and we all have that faculty, it's within our choice to activate it, to develop it, to unfold it, to work with it, to trust ourselves as well. Well, will never let us down. They're, have our back 110%. And it's whatever time we can afford to be the best that we can be. And it's a difficult path at times. And, we're lucky we have each other. You have each other, and sure, many friends as well. But it can be a lonely road, in the early days, if you're not in the presence of the right teacher who will support you, encourage you, guide you, or whatever. We're not robotic. You could put 10 mediums in a circle, have them all up and say, right, I want you to give, cause of passing, I want you to give you a relationship, blah, blah, blah. We all work differently. We're all unique, the same as our fingerprints, and our mediumship will be unique.
But also as well with that, there's been so much focus and emphasis on the mechanics, this aspect of stepping up and giving a list of things. That was never, we believe, what this is about. This is about something far deeper. This is about something that is divine, and it's that experience of the connection. The mechanics is an aspect of it, but it's not meant to be all of it. And that's the problem. There's so much focuses and emphasis on the mechanics. So you could have people, giving spectacular evidence, but in the inability for them to be, kind or caring or have an aspect to them to recognize that they are, as part of humanity. We can have our good days and bad days, but we are, equally as important in the eyes of the divine. Every one of us, whether we're a mediumistic or not, everybody is loved equally. And being a medium doesn't make you any more special than anybody else. In fact, it infers a greater responsibility if you choose to walk that pathway. And I think we live in a culture that is very, center stage. Everybody wants to be their 3 minutes of fame. And it does a disservice to what we do in many respects, I believe. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, I can feel myself getting up on my high horse. I'm trying not to, but I totally agree with everything you've just said. And it is a responsibility. And we've discussed when we first originally met about some of the experiences that we've had, that people have had from their experiences with mediumship. And it is difficult, and it can be a lonely road, but I totally agree with everything you said. And there's so many comments coming in. Everyone loves you, by the way. Which is
awesome. John starts telling jokes.
Is it okay, guys? We're going to throw it out to the audience to ask questions.
Sorry, Paul.
Have you got one more?
Yeah, thanks, Miriam.
That's right. Well, I'm just going to throw it out. We'll get the questions coming in while we're doing that, mate. You carry on.
My question. We've got 2 questions each, kind of thing, and then we'll throw it out. But I think you elegantly explained everything just so well this evening so far. I just want to say that was captivating the way you explained everything in such detail. But to be fair, I think this last question that I've got, I think you've pretty much covered it. But what I was really, the burning question I've got, which was going to be said before I even spoke to you both tonight, was the ego, really. Now, you've already touched on that with what you've explained, and like the structure where it is a bit robotic, even in a training environment, without putting any environment, like Arthur Finney College down. I wouldn't even think about doing that. But the example of, getting up and standing in front of a big crowd where the old nerves are jingling, we're human, and all that kind of stuff that goes with it. Whether you're articulate or whether you're not, with your vocabulary, it's all about the feeling and the heart, as you elegantly put. But when it comes down to the ego, where of course the ego is, as a character, we can't get away from that. But what I'm getting at is that negative side, where people become a little bit bigger than they actually are. Can you sort of go into detail about how to deal between the charlatans and the pure, basically?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Do you want to say that?
Well, almost like working out if you was going to go and choose someone to read for you, maybe. How would someone from the public define good or bad? Is that what you mean, mate?
Yeah, but also the generic side of it, where you're going to come across as genuine with not only your evidence, but not in a general structured way, but also in a natural way, but without thinking you're better than you are.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, for me, certainly, as I say, I was drawn very much to the healing side, and I embarked on a 2-year healing journey from the very first time I sat in circle until the first time I actually stood up on a platform publicly on a Sunday divine service and gave my first message. I feel that those 2 years were absolutely vital. Gordon Smith, as I say, one of our teachers, great friend, great guy, said that in his opinion, of many years working as a medium, that anybody working without the benefit of a healing journey or experience can be somewhat devoid of compassion. And I would wholeheartedly agree with him 110%, because before any one of us should ever, I feel, work publicly, or even in doing a private one-to-one reading or a charity night, psychic supper, or whatever you want to call it, basically, work with the public, we should go on a journey of healing for ourselves. For me, somewhat difficult, painful, going through past experiences within life, which were not good experiences, but I had to go back and completely heal them, be at peace with them, unravel it, go back to the nitty-gritty bit by bit and say, why did that happen? How did it happen? What have I learned from it? And be at peace with it. And then with that understanding, as I say, there was enough of ego there with me to be able, we need that little percentage of ego to get up on a platform and speak publicly, whether there's 10 people or 100 people in the room. One of the fascinating things I learned very early on, ego, small little word, 3 letters, ego, edging God out. And that's the way I put it. So the more egotistical we become, the less there is of God within us as such. It's more about us, less about God and the spirit world and the people. For me, just trying to stay as humble as you can, as realistic and as honest as you can. And by being, keeping grounded, practicing, mindfulness, just being out in nature, being that helping hand, being kind, these things will stop you, that ego getting too inflated or too large. Hopefully there's enough honest, like-minded colleagues, mediums, ministers, whoever, we frequent, that would say to you, do you know what, I just think you just kind of, just keep things in check a little bit. So just, but you will know yourself, without having to dissect every reading or every service that you have done. Human nature will say, did that go well? Was that a good reading? Was that a good evening? Was that a good service? Could I have done more? Yes, we could always do more. I think it's part of our own, I would say, insecurity as a medium, as sensitives, that we always want to please. We always want to, we always, have people come up after you, after a service and say, oh, you said such and such about my mom and that was fantastic, but what I want to tell you is this, this, and this. And I'm like, in my early days, wow, that information was there. If only I could have got that and given it. Yeah, but that was me. That was my need. That wasn't the need that was required on the night.
And the other aspect of that, Anthony, as well, is to know, I would feel, if you want to be more aware of what is a more, God-centered medium, or, divine-centered medium, as opposed to egotistical, if I'm using that term very broadly, it is, you feel the experience in the presence of that person. The spirit world are never there to tell the sitter something. They're there to have a conversation through you. So by the very essence, you are the conduit. So they're not telling you, you have to do this, that, and the other. That's not their role. So I think if somebody is starting to tell the sitter, you're being told to do this, that, and the other, or they're not happy about you doing this, that, and the other, that's not what they would do. They don't, because they love you. And when they're in that, that aspect of being, that enlightenment is part of, their journey. And our role is to convey that information. So first and foremost, the feeling is very important. You'd know that by being in the presence of something, because you feel it. And also, if you're being told or dictated to, that's usually a good warning sign, or if that the medium is very definite about, you're being told this, 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 and this. That's usually a good indication, I would feel. That was something that would set the alarm bells for me in terms of whether it's more about the ego and less about the communication with the divine.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for that.
Yeah, guys, we've had some great questions come up. I don't know if we got two people in the back room now helping here. Here we go. Here's one.
Okay, can you connect with each other's guides because you have a marriage? Pardon the expression, hardly want to have to do with him after you're working with him. God, best will in the world. I love my husband. But there's days, isn't that right, darling?
Yeah, I mean, we're human, and the way our marriage, as I say, 25 years this year, has worked is that we're open, upfront, and honest with each other. I know I get on Miriam's nerves, and she knows she gets on mine. But that's just the way it works. But I mean, people have often said, "Wow, I've seen 2 mediums work together, 3 mediums, 4 mediums, or whatever, doing split links, double links, and all of this. But you guys working, how is it you're able to do it?" And it was explained to us, because there's harmony, because there's no ego between us, because I will always support Miriam, and I know she has my back, that we blend together in harmony with each other, not to get the best bit of information, but just to blend with the
to give the best service that we can.
But going to Carol's question there, can you connect with each other's guides? And I was one of these that week after week in circle, everybody was saying, "Oh, my guide's telling me this, and my guide showed me this," and all of that. I didn't get anything. Hand on heart, I still couldn't tell you who my guide was in a past life, previous life, or whatever. I know that I don't work alone. I know that there is I always, receive my, what I would say, like a calling card, a sensation, a vibration within the body just shortly before I work. Sometimes I get that when I'm sitting, sometimes I don't. But I always know that that guy, that influence, that supporter, that inspirer, that teacher, whatever word, there's somebody there. And I would like to say the same for Miriam. We don't actually have this.
We don't use that term, and it's not something that has ever really been prevalent for us to get hung up on that. What matters for us is that we can convey that communication. Who gives it to us is not important necessarily for us, as in, whether it's a particular guide or not, we know it's our team, and that's enough for us. So we're not hung up on who they are or from that point of view, but we do have that harmony together.
Yeah.
When we're working anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's humor as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's good. And as I say, it's important not to take life too seriously. We take when we're working, it's not like we're super serious. We don't move into an altered state of seriousness, but we are aware, as I say, of a transference, aware, of an energy change and whatever.
We take what we do seriously, but we don't necessarily take each other seriously at the best of times.
Yeah, and it's good to have a bit of fun with it.
Especially with his bad jokes, as you've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a question. I don't know if you guys can find it. We've had lots of comments since. Somebody was asking, what do you do with your mediumship when life gets in the way? I don't know if I can find it now. I certainly. Oh, here we go.
The medium pulls back from spirit due to live kids getting in the way. What advice would you get? The confidence again to assume and take away the fear. Will I answer that first?
You want to first?
First and foremost, I would feel we are here to live a life.
Yeah.
That's our purpose, to live this life and to help the people that we work with. When we are working mediumistically, that would take place. It's not part of our everyday, nor should it be. You wouldn't necessarily be in the supermarket and then or you shouldn't, I feel, have an urge to go up and say your granny's here, because that's just not the way. Spirits and intelligence, you have to have a responsibility. And that discipline is very, very important. So, the spirit world as an intelligence, know that there's a purpose and meaning to your life. And looking after your children and your family is a priority. There will be time, and you can make time to sit and to work mediumistically. But, your life here, particularly if there's children, that's the responsibility that you need to kind of focus on, because that's there. It's the time that you can devote to it. John, if you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, for me, Jane, answering that question, if a medium pulls back, I don't feel that you're pulling back. You're having to, obviously prioritize, children and things. Life, as I say, doesn't so much get in the way, but life happens. And it's important to embrace that, and important to, as Miriam already said, I believe, prioritize. But any work, I firmly believe that you have done for the spirit world, or with the spirit world, all of the evenings you spent sitting in circle, the workshops and all of that. And if you decide to, step aside, step back, take a break, when it's right for you to resume, none of that is lost. It's not like, oh, I've spent 2 years, thousands of euros going to colleges, worked up. Now I'm going to have to start all over again. And it's like, no, you don't. You just pick up where you left off. For us, in our belief, the spirit world, obviously, we need them, but they don't need us. The spirit world can work with anybody if they want, if they choose as such. So for us, it's incredibly humbling that we are allowed to work on behalf of spirit, that we can receive the impressions and the information that they wish to convey. But nothing is ever lost, Jane. So, confidence for us, again, we, as you stated earlier, Anthony, just probably taking a step back on a previous question, getting up on platform the first time. And it's still the same for us as such, working in a new church or certainly in front of our peers or at the college or whatever. You get that sense of nervousness. You might get very hot or very cold and you might be shaking or whatever. Gordon Smith calls it the quickening. It's basically the vibration. It's that where the spirit world are lowering their vibration and you're raising yours, and somewhere in the middle, this quickening takes place. This if you like, fluctuating of the aura, of the auric field, where the spirit world, as you know, don't come into our body. It's as in the movie Ghost, didn't do us any favors, but just touch our aura, or just work through, just touch that the nervous system, which is really sensitive, and all of those receptacles are all kicking off or whatever. And when this transference comes, that's what gives you. So turn everything into a positive. Turn the term stress, nerves, all of these things into here they are. I'm ready to work.
But also, it's trust. It's learning. When you trust that communication, that when you're working, you're there to give service as a medium, so it's coming through you, and it's not about you as an individual. It's about the information that you're given with integrity and discipline. It's a little less daunting, because your trust is with the spirit world, and they are who we must give our priority to if they've chosen to work with us.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, one from Lucy. I lost 3 people at young ages within months of each other. I think I feel them around sometimes. I've always wondered if there are any clear signs.
Okay. I would feel that Lucy would be aware of what those signs are. So if she feels in her heart of hearts that those signs are significant to those people, who are we to say differently?
Yes.
Signs are very definite to the individual.
Again, Lucia says, I think I feel. Maybe saying I think, change it to I know and I trust. The best way I'd always feel, to connect with a loved one, to connect with a presence, is just to sit. It's down to ritual. If you're more comfortable sitting in a room in the dark with a candle and a bit of incense or music playing or whatever, that's fine. If that puts you into the space and brings you into it,
but I think
being calm. But just know that they're there. You may not sense them, hear them, feel them, see them, but just know that they're there.
But I think that the question was that she felt particular things and she was unsure whether there was. I think she knows whatever those experiences are, they would be significant enough if it is their loved one coming close, if it is those communications coming forward for Lucy, there'll be things that she would be aware of in connection with them that they would know.
Yeah.
And ultimately all that matters at the end of the day is what she, and it's not doing
maybe
any harm to anybody else, she's fine.
Maybe for Lucy to satisfy that the curiosity or that need to know. Again, it costs nothing to walk into a spiritualist church on a Sunday of divine service. Eventually, there will come validation from the right medium for Lucy at that time to say, this young person, that young person, or whatever is here, giving the evidence, and will give the information that she knows that it's them.
Yeah.
So that's where the validation will come. It mightn't happen Sunday, next Sunday, a month, a year's time, but trust and know that in the presence of the right medium, as when the conditions are right, that she will get that validation and information.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic.
So I know we're still taking more questions, but we are now coming up to, can't believe it, we've been going for 50 minutes already.
Yeah, it's flown by, isn't it?
So, I mean, would you guys rather just start working?
No, we're fine with the questions, if that's all right.
Yeah. There were some more questions. All right, okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
There is some really some great comments from people as well. Victoria Wicks has put one up.
Oh, fab.
So it's really good. Really good.
It's good, yeah.
Lovely, yeah.
That's super.
Again, it's just the quickening. It's a word that Gordon uses. That
absolutely
to explain it to himself. Call it whatever, but a vibration. It's a change in energy, a change to how you feel before you started to when you're just about to start work, whether it's healing speaking, evidential, or whatever, a one-to-one, and just know that there's something taking place. There is a change within the energy. Yeah. So whatever you wish, to call on it, you will sense and feel.
Absolutely, Jennifer. So I do think it's our personalities. That's why, some communicators, some people will receive messages from some mediums and not others. It's not that your loved ones don't necessarily want to connect with you. It's just that the medium may not be the right person for their personality. But any communication should never be about the medium. So that would set alarm bells for me there in terms of, whatever that message is. It should never be about the medium. It should be about the communication.
And the majority of us have a sense of humor anyway, whether it's a dry one or whatever.
Well, some people don't. Some people don't.
Yeah, and the communicators will maybe bring through an essence of that through their personality, through the evidence before they move into the message. But to us personally, it's knowing, and it's the medium knowing. Even if the person coming through was a comedian in life, a professional comedian or whatever, then there will be an essence of that. But it shouldn't be all about the humor.
Yourself and abilities. Yeah, well, I think as well, when you're Carol there, if you don't believe in yourself and abilities, people will see through you. I think when you're working from a place of integrity and you're communicating with, I suppose, a sense of authenticity for the spirit world. I mean, we've heard people, prominent mediums give communications where they've spoke about, the events of passing, but gone into great detail, which is unnecessary, because I know if that was my loved one, I would not want someone to go through that level of detail. It's not necessary. I already know how they've passed. I don't need that to be delivered in a grand platform. And neither do they.
And you don't want 100 other people in the room possibly knowing that either. Yeah.
So it's about, what's the purpose of it? Why are they coming forward? Not, in grand detail about the events of their passing, because I'm already aware of that, and it's of no benefit. It's not going to help anybody. In fact, it's just going to, shock the majority of people. In some ways, will probably find it impressive, but I certainly wouldn't, and I certainly believe I can't see the purpose of it from the spirit world by any shape, shape, or form.
Well, that's a great question.
That we don't have to. Absolutely, I would agree with you there.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
As we know, some people, may welcome to a service or go to a medium, and once they know that everything is okay, once they're left with a sense of healing and peace and contentment, their need, their desire is fulfilled. They might necessarily ever want to go and see a medium again, as such, and that's okay. But you'll get the likes of someone that will come and for a medium because they want to hear something they want to hear, and they'll go to the next medium and the next medium and the next medium until they get the medium that tells them what they want, instead of what they need. And that's the difference. And for us, it's working as honestly as we can within our mediumship. Honest, brutally honest to a point, by even saying in a private reading, as I have done on occasion, it's just not really kind of gelling. It's not really feeling right. I really don't feel like I'm the medium for you at this moment in time. I'd love to be able to, to tell you about, someone will come in and just, the usual, don't give me anything, just say yes, no, don't know it. I'm here. I want to hear about my dad that passed last week. So straight away, they've put the medium under pressure, because the medium knows that they're, out of all the loved ones in the spirit world that are there, they only want to hear from their dad.
And well, again, also that comes back to the experience that you have and the integrity that you have. So you have to put your trust. There's no guarantee that person will come through, but the person sitting in front of you has a need, and our role is to serve that person to the best of our ability, regardless of whether that communication will take place. Because sometimes it may not. It may simply be just to sit in that space and listen to that person and let them know that they've been seen, let them know that they have value. Whatever they're going through is okay, and that someone is there to listen.
But as we know, within that, and certainly within that a past experience with me, I just say, well, I'm not aware of your father present here with me, but psychically, I am aware through your energy of your need and how you're grieving and how this has affected, different things. So you can move. So again, it's down to the integrity and the honesty of the medium to say, your dad's not telling me this. This is coming from me. This is what I'm picking up from you on an energetic, on a soul to soul level. Your dad is not telling me this, that, and the other, but this is what I feel. And yeah, you can work that way, as you both know, as mediums work both psychically and mediumistically. Where what gets our backs up is the term, psychic medium. And yeah, there's plenty of psychic, but there's no mediumship whatsoever. That way. So
some stuff.
I'm just trying to park my horse again. Don't start me on that one as well.
Yeah, that's all right. Do you have certain rituals? Yes, Sammy, we do. Those rituals would quite simply be just having a space where we sit, and we send out a thought to the spirit world that this is our time to sit with them with no expectation. We're not looking for a communication. We're just letting them know that we are sitting and that we are there to spend time with them. And we would do that before we go to a service or before we undertake a service. That's something that we do with no expectation.
Like if we knew today that next Wednesday we had a service, and we would sit three times a week, for maybe half hour in the evening,
with no expectation, regardless.
And if something happens in a phone call or something, whatever, and we can't sit, then we just do it another day or whatever. But we would always send out thoughts. Certainly, Miriam would send out thoughts during the address for inspiration, for inspired words. Sometimes I would get something and just say, I've just been given something, and whatever, because
you might give me a word together.
But it's the old adage, and something again, very blessed, to be guided. I would feel certainly by our loved ones and by the spirit world, be in the pathway of the right teachers for us at the moment in time. And trusting and knowing intuitively that who we were with was the right person for us. And also knowing with a sense of loyalty that, we've studied under this person for a while, knowing when it's time to leave that person and move on to the next and not being too hung up or caught up on it. It's the old edges, as I say, fail to prepare to fail. If you're going to do something, if you're planning a journey, you're going to make sure you got petrol, diesel in the tank, your tires are pumped up or whatever, and you're going to bring some snacks in the car. Anything we do in life, we always prepare for it. Setting the alarm clock for the next morning, setting out our clothes that we're going to wear to work or whatever. So it's no different to working with the spirit world. If you're on platform, if you're booked for a service or to do anything, you would always prepare in whatever sits right for you. And that, if you like, ritual is what sits right for you. I wouldn't be too caught up on, I only got 10 minutes. I usually do half hour. It's not going to go well for me tonight or what. No, just trust.
And again, trust, yeah. And that's where your integrity and your experience kind of validate that. So we've Kimberly Bean. Do loved ones come to you when they know you're in the presence of someone who needs guidance, or do you have to ask them for help? Personally speaking, I would never offer information to anybody unless someone has come to speak with me specifically. So it doesn't matter what I'm aware of, psychically or mediumistically, that's a very definite line of integrity. I would never offer information unless a person came to seek me deliberately. And I think that's something I'd be very rigid about.
It goes back to, as I say, for us, learning many evenings about discipline and being the disciplined medium. It's incredibly important. As I say, you could speak 1,000 words to someone and build them up, and you could just destroy them with just one word. So, integrity and honesty and certainly discipline is vital. Do you know you're in the presence of someone? To be honest, again, it's knowing that when you're working, and when you're not, you're not. So when we're off duty, per se, and we're not working, but then we're not seeking, we're not looking. I don't feel...
there can be a psychic pull. It's a different thing by the individual. You know, that's, I think, where that line with the ego can be very, it's knowing how to manage that, you know, less of me and more of them, or more of them and less of, you know, more of me, that kind of thing. So it's being aware of that. There is a purpose to it, and that the respect has to be held for that space. You know, so I think this is probably as well where the likes, you know, the TV, the entertainment aspect of it that's out there, this, I suppose, the Long Island Medium or those kind of programs is a huge issue. You know, I mean, when you've lost somebody and that grief is very ever present in your life, you know, you don't want somebody popping up to you when you're like, you're just about, you might have managed to kind of get through a week and you're getting into your car without someone popping up behind you and say, oh, by the way, actually, what I tell you, you know, it's spirit worlds and intelligence. You know, what is the purpose of that? You know, by all means.
I just want to say there's some great questions coming in. Can we just stay with it for a little bit? I mean, there's some great questions coming in. I want to kind of get to everybody, really.
Okay, so Victoria, do you help with end of life to help lost souls? Well, first of all, I don't believe there are any lost souls. If the spirit world, in my understanding, the spirit world is an intelligence, and well, when our time is up, our time is up. Nothing, you know, nothing is going to prolong that. You know, when our time is up, its time is up, whether it's, you know, 5 years, 10 years, 50 years, 105 years. You know, we have an infinite amount of time here, and no one knows that length of time except the divine.
Yeah.
You know, no medium, no one has ever come and said you're going to go on such a date. We may have an awareness. I knew my father was going to pass. I knew what month he was going to pass. I didn't know the date, but I knew the date when he wouldn't be around. But I did not know the day he would die. It's not information we should have. So, you know, when our time here is done, our time here is done, and we will move to the spirit world. But I don't believe that there's lost souls. What's the point of that then? You know?
I mean, we do help, you know, certainly, Victoria, with end of life care. Certainly someone coming to the end of their journey in this life.
And difficulty they may have on this side, by all means.
We would sit with them and allay any concerns and allow them, try to instill or bring them a sense of peace so that they can pass peacefully, because some people are very anxious before they pass. Some people, you know, would try to make amends at the last minute and all of that. This is something, as I say, we do as part of ministerial training. But for us personally and incredibly honestly, you know, it's not within our understanding that anybody is lost, that when somebody passes, takes the last breath, instantaneous, you know, the spirit leaves the body. Certainly in my, you know, with my mother and father, they were through within a week. Probably would have been in, you know, before that, but I wasn't in company of a medium. And when I said within a week, both mediums that brought through, firstly my father and then my mother, didn't know that they had passed.
So, Andrea, do you think there are people who go and see mediums too often? Now, again, I think this part and parcel, Andrea. So this question, do you think people who go to mediums too often become addicted? It can be dependent upon the medium. Sometimes there are mediums who will perpetuate a need, who will, and I know from experience, you know, I've known of people receive phone calls, say, your husband has come, I think you should come and see me. So in many respects, you have to look at that line of integrity. Sometimes there's a need that is perpetuated on behalf of the medium, and sometimes it can come on behalf of the sitter. So if you're attending, you know, mediums too often in or that might meet the need, I think if the medium has integrity, there's a recognition of the need of the sitter, and they should be able to direct, you know, listen and guide the sitter to the appropriate help that is not necessarily coming back to hear from their loved ones on a repeated basis.
For me, within that, just going back, you know, to that previous question, you know, there will be, you know, within all walks of life, unscrupulous people, and there will be certainly an awareness within some, you know, self-titled medium that gives information. Oh, I've been told you're going to have to come back and see me again next week, next month. Or this is going to take a few sessions or whatever. But I'm giving a discount at the moment, so I normally charge this, and it's just a money-making venture, and it's preying on the vulnerability of people, which to us is beyond words. It's the lowest of them, and yeah.
Okay, sure. Well, believe it or not, Shirley, John gets messages, communications from his mother and father almost no matter where we go, no matter what service we attend. John will receive a communication, and I never do. So again, it does come down to, first and foremost, I think the medium who's working, and certainly it would also possibly be John's energy and my energy in terms of how we interact, but also as well, I think it's knowing our loved ones as well. Sometimes our need can be greater than their need, and it's an understanding of, is it, have they said all they need to say? And is it just that we want to hear from them over and above that they may have something to impart to us? So, as I said, John receives communications every service we go to. I never get any.
And it's just the way it is. I don't, send out 1,001 thoughts beforehand. Oh, I hope I get a message. Hope I get a message. Come to me, or whatever. Yeah. But there's something, I suppose, within my own energy that, when I go to a service or go to a church or a centre first time, don't know the medium or whatever, and there's this, I suppose, I would say, on an energetic level, like attracts like, that. Oh, I need to come to you. This gentleman in the front here in the blue shirt and the tie. I feel I have your father here. Blah, blah. Can you understand this? Yes, I can. So, and I spoke because I'm open to it, and I know that they're there, and whatever. But I don't purposely, go out of my way, to receive a message. I'm not upset or disappointed if I don't get one, and sometimes I go weeks or a couple of months without receiving a message. But that's fine. But yeah, it's one of these, I suppose, totally unexplained things that there's no real answer, Shirley, as to why some people get loads of messages and other people don't. Yeah. It's just one of those things.
That's a great question. Another great question from Edward as well. Hi, Ed.
Do you think that some people are more naturally open to absolutely. Well, quote on John here was a very black and white. I would be very rational, so I by my nature I would dissect everything, and I'd be questioning all sources. So I wouldn't take, I suppose, information readily. Put it that way. I would be quite cynical, I suppose. Maybe that's probably the wrong term for me, but I would question, and I think that that's a really important thing. You do have to question, because people are always worried about, people being cynical. We do need a line of, sometimes we can throw our rationality out the window, and that's not a good thing by any stretch. We need that kind of line of rationality. But I do think with experience, when you have been in the presence and had a communication where it's felt, and I suppose that goes back to certainly what we believe in, that when that communication takes place, it's something that is felt over and above information imparted. So from that point of view, it can open our awareness, or certainly our terms of investigation. But John, prior to our own experience, would have been a very close, very black and white. If I can't see it in front of me, it's not happening. Where I would have been much more open for my own experiences and my own past. And each one has to find their own. So it was a great surprise that he ended up on the pathway that we were both on.
Yeah, once I surrendered to it, and with information and knowledge, I embraced it. I was very much, even till, fairly recently, someone said to me, oh, you're a spiritualist, aren't you? You're a spiritualist medium. I said, yeah, that's right. You believe in life after death, don't you? And I said, no, actually, I don't. And I said, oh, I thought you lot did. And I said, no.
You lot.
I know it. And that's the difference when you know something. As I said to the earlier part, when we first started, I've seen, and heard and witnessed things that absolutely, the biggest thing, hand on heart, that this whole work, all of this work, or whatever you want to call it, this pathway, this journey, has completely eradicated and took away the fear of death from me. And as the renowned Tony Stockwell says, I'm not afraid of death. I'm just more concerned about how I'm going to lead it back. and the method as such. But yeah, I've absolutely no fear. You know, it's the only one of two things in life that we're certain of, you know, taxes and dying. And we're not going to escape either, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, and whenever it happens, and that's fine. You know, but yeah, it's the freedom that has brought is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my saying, by the way. Tony Stockwell's nicked that off me.
They're infamous.
Copyrighted.
Yeah.
It's not how we're going to go. Well, I just don't want to be hit by that truck, you know?
Yeah.
You see it in the movies, don't you? But that's not the way I want to go.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you believe in reincarnation? Personally speaking, I don't. Well, it's not that I don't believe in it. It's not something I'm prepared to explore. Personally, I find this life is hard enough. The thought of having to come back as something else now would just, you know, no thanks. Once is enough for me. That's fine.
Up until the last 25 years when she's been married, and then that's been fine. But prior to that.
Oh, God, yeah. No, actually, probably since the last 25 years that I've been married, actually, that's really made me question. Prior to that, it was fine.
Again, you know, for me, reincarnation, you know, it's something I've looked at, you know, I've thought about or whatever. But to me, there's more I can do in life, you know, within the time that I have here, than exploring reincarnation. And did I live a previous life? You know, I've been told by various people over the years, you know, you've come from 2 lifetimes back and you've inherited this, and you're carrying these life burdens and things and stuff you have to heal and all. I am who I am. I am where I am at this moment in life, and I'm, you know, I don't want to be personally too preoccupied in what I was before, and if I'm going to come back as a cat or a dog or a plant or a fish, you know, it's.
Well, I wouldn't dismiss it. I mean, everyone's entitled to believe what they choose to. I just haven't got the mental capacity to focus on it.
Yeah.
You know, this life is stressful.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I was told once that my son, he's probably listening, so I'm sorry, Ad, if you're listening, was once my dad. I was quite horrified at that. I thought to myself, he does try to tell me what to do all the time, so maybe that is something in that.
Yeah, that's a very kind of, I think Freud would have a field day with something like that. You know?
He absolutely would.
Very peculiar.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Well, we kind of... we've got about 15 minutes left. Do we want to try one message?
Do you want to?
I prefer to keep answering questions. It's not that I don't want to or we can't, but personally, you know, we work obviously within energies, and the energy that we're in is I wouldn't say is a heightened spiritual energy to be able to connect. But just, you know, it's more passive how we're working. It's more conversational talking, or whatever. So wouldn't like to, as I say, just. I mean, for us, we never summoned the spirit world. They're either there, you know, for us or with us. Our intention wasn't really set out this evening to link or to work evidentially. To be totally honest. Certainly, we can do it again. We could set up, you know, another evening for you of mediumship, or if you wanted to.
We'd love that.
We could do that and work individually and together, just to show people how we work.
Cool, that's an invitation right there, Anthony.
There we go.
That'll be awesome. We're going to hold you guys. It's live. Everyone's heard you say it.
So absolutely. And totally fine. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. As I say, we, you know, as you know, Veronica Jenkins on Facebook, you know, has done a stellar job in the last year putting together all the services. So, you know, people say, oh, when are you on next and where are you working and what do you do? And I just have a look, and if the name pops up, that's where we're going to be. So everybody's welcome, you know, to join in, you know, and to watch us work and give us feedback. Absolutely.
Oh, before people do that, and before we've only got about 15 minutes left, I want to just let people know, I'm going to share on screen. If people want to get in touch with you guys, because you've had such a positive response from everybody watching tonight, I'm just going to quickly share this screen. This is your website. I don't know if you guys can see this.
Oh, yeah.
Lightning Events with John and Miriam Fitzgerald on there. So that's the kind of what to expect if you, I know we've been putting the banner across at the bottom, but if you see this, this is how to contact these guys. So I'm just going to quickly pop that up to get rid of that, just so people know what to expect.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, it's events company. It's something we put together whereby that certainly the teachers that we work with, and we have a network, of students. We see ourselves as students being eternal students, certainly within life, within that, just to share with people what we're doing and the people that we're working with, and for us personally to promote our teachers, our inspirers, that we've worked with and learned so much from and with, and just to let the public know, for anybody that's interested, if you want to subscribe to the email, there's no obligation whatsoever, that when these people are coming to Ireland, the likes of Gordon Smith, Janet Parker, Simon James, Brian Robertson, and many of the tutors, as I say, we worked, as I say, within the SNU, but we also work for independent churches, and to be honest, Christian spiritualist church.
But we work for spirit, regardless of what mantle that comes under.
We're all put into boxes, so I suppose we have been labelled as SNU mediums, but that's not the be all and end all of it. We're quite independent in the work we do.
Yeah, we work for spirit.
But yeah, just to share knowledge, we would have
a Facebook page as well. So Enlightening Events is on Facebook. There's a Celtic.
Okay.
And we look at other holistic areas and other people in other countries, what they're doing, and do interviews with them like you're doing for us tonight.
Yeah, there's a good few of those on the page as well. You'll see there's some videos there for with Gordon and Simon James, and then Brian Robertson and Janet Parker. And then there's one on yoga, and we had one with
Janet P. Delato. She's an Egyptologist.
Fantastic lady, and
tarot card reader, and fascinating people.
We have just shared a link as well on our comments page. If you can see that, guys, we've shared the Facebook page link as well. Okay, so people can see that.
Oh, just clicked into the comments and seen all the questions come up.
Yeah, sorry, we just didn't see them. Sorry.
If you want to pick out a few more, there's another one. Yeah.
So there you go.
So Liz, do you have knowledge of when the soul enters during pregnancy? I wouldn't say, Liz, that we had a knowledge over and above or beyond maybe anybody else's point of view as such. But for me, in all honesty, that point of conception is when that essence of spirit is there. That when, that life is formed, in the womb, that God force power or whatever,
spark of creation,
that spark of creation, that's when it's
when life is created, it's part and parcel of the same process. That's what we would believe
personally. Over and above and beyond that, I can't say for certain.
Well, that's an old one. Just come back up again. There is a few here.
No, it wasn't spirit you saw, it was a ghost.
Lou, sorry, I saw a spirit when I was about 3 years old, as I say, at the time, and I remember, waking up late at night, it was pitch dark or whatever, and just seeing this lady come to me. I always thought it was spirit. I saw spirit when I was young, like so many people have had childhood experiences. But it was only through knowledge and teaching and understanding. It was actually Gordon Smith said to me, quite rightly, that if it was spirit, then I could have communicated with that lady, as in there would have been, through thought form, through telepathy, I would have received impressions of who she was, why she was coming, what she wanted to say to me, why she was there. So what I actually saw was, in essence, was a ghost. I saw the figure of a lady. So for me, at that age, as a sensitive, that I could see her, and she was just showing herself to me because she knew I could see her and nobody else could. And as I say, she was no threat, but I had nothing to measure it against. None of my family could see it, so I turned it into fear, because the only way I could rationalize it and explain it was that it was something fearful, that I'd been naughty, I did something wrong, and there was this thing coming to get me. But as I say, through life,
which is now turned into
you know, so I knew I saw, as a 3-year-old, I saw a ghost, and I've never seen her since. I have asked her to come back. I'd love to see her again. I'd love to have a chat with her, or whatever. But yeah, imprinted on my mind exactly how she was dressed. Certainly within that 1800s time period of, you know, lace, you know, collars around her wrists and all of that. Very tall, long hair, but beautiful woman.
Yeah, but not spirit, just a
but
ghost,
not spirit.
Very different thing.
It was ghost. Yeah, it was an apparition. As such,
a memory.
As I say, as you know, you can communicate with a spirit. You can't communicate with a ghost. A ghost is just a memory.
So, Paula, step for me to go. Well, first of all, I'd question who it was that told them first. That would be the purpose of why someone would say that to you, because that's something that you would either be aware of yourself or not. And I think this is as well goes part and parcel with this notion of, you know, having a gift. We all have gifts. If we're created by, you know, a divine entity, as I said, which we call God, we're all special in the eyes of that creator. And just because somebody has, you know, decided to work with that faculty doesn't make them any more gifted than, you know, somebody who bakes bread or drives a bus. We all have a role to play. So first thing I would question the context in which that information has been shared and the purpose of it. But by all means, get yourself some books, start that way. You know, credible books. We personally would recommend Gordon Smith, Simon O'Brien's, that, you know, Magician to Mystic is a fantastic book.
One of the first book I ever picked up was Spirit Communication by Roy Stemmen.
Fantastic book.
He was a young journalist for Psychic News. He had no understanding of spiritualism, mediumship, or anything. So his book is a very unbiased view of his experience, his honest experiences of what he found within that. And to me, it's something I still refer to.
It stands the test of time. It covers every aspect of any kind of spiritual faculty, goes through all of the different types of mediumship, physical, healing, evidential, transcommunication, automatic writing, along with all of the people as well. Fantastic book. So that's
what's important, Paula, is for you to find the right teacher for you. I personally would be an advocate, or we would rather, of sitting in circle, sitting in the power of getting to know the terminology of mediumship and all of its different aspects
or modalities,
and be totally honest with yourself, Paula. If you feel that the circle that you're drawn to, whether it's a center, a church, or whatever, if you're not getting what you feel, if it's not gelling with you, then you have to leave. You have to be, regardless of the person, say, you're coming on great, Paula, and, you know, a few more classes and I'll soon have you on platform and all of that. You know, just know intuitively, if it's not sitting with you, if you're not getting something of value from it, and you're not moving forward, then leave and find someone else, and another person. Eventually you will find the best the best teacher that you will ever have is the spirit world. And it costs nothing to just sit with them at home on your own time, or even out in the car,
and read your books
or whatever, and read your books, and be guided towards the correct knowledge, and you will know.
There's a great question from Chris just come in, I think.
Yeah, lovely.
Chris Lucas. Hello, Chris. By the way, I used to bump into Chris up in Spalding. Nice to see you, buddy. So how can you tell if you hear someone or imagine and brush it away?
Well, if you're aware, Chris, you know, there's, you know, the clairaudience, as such. So that's what you're talking about. If you hear someone, then there's objective clairaudience and subjective.
Yeah.
So do you hear the voice, or do you hear the sound inside your head, or do you hear it externally, as in slightly behind you, slightly at your ear, As I say, it's something that you need to understand first and foremost, Chris, as I say, if you haven't explored it already, the different types of clairaudience, things like direct voice, indirect voice, all of these things. So yeah, sometimes, certainly when I'm working, I don't know if you get this, guys, I say, and you're given the evidence, blah, 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 and they're telling me this. Just as soon as that word has left my mouth, they're telling me this. I'm like, but I didn't hear it. So how can you feel a sound? How can you know the spirit world has told you something? I've just actually said, it just told me blah, 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 but I wouldn't consider myself as clairaudient. I'm not aware that I hear the spirit word. I would have heard words through my development every now and again, or when I was in work or driving along in the car and I hear something like, where did that come from? It wasn't shouted out. It wasn't whispered, but it was just there.
Yeah.
But it didn't, I couldn't say whether it was a male voice or a female voice or whatever. So it's getting to know you and getting to know different types of their audience.
Sorry, John, to interrupt. Was that more like a feeling through knowing what the information is rather than actually the clairaudience?
Yeah, it's trust as well. Yeah, so it is. It is that knowing, but also I would question Chris there in terms of it's the content of what is being shared with you. So it's whatever you are hearing. If you're hearing something, the content of that would also be an indicator of where it's coming from.
Certainly, we can. Our imagination is powerful, as such. Entirely up to yourself if you want to brush it off, brush it away, not pass it any thought. If you want confirmation of it, ask for it. If that's really you, Dad, if that's really is the spirit world, if that really is someone wanting to communicate to me again or say something else to me or whatever. So it's building up that trust and that relationship, your guide, your helper, your team, your loved one, or whoever or whatever that sound has impressed itself.
Oh, it says there it's more his name gets called.
Yeah, it's more of his name that gets called every now and then.
Okay.
Yeah, and that can happen. Again, is there, again, obviously not opening up public arena, is there a need for you at the moment to is it comforting for you to hear your name called, or is there a need for you to want your name to be called?
Or have you sent that thought to the spirit world that you're looking for guidance or you're looking for confirmation? Have you asked them?
Yeah.
Have you sought some solace or guidance? Have you asked for help? No utterance is ever goes unheard.
And then, okay, so if it's appropriate, I'll say, obviously, if you're not driving down the motorway in the fast lane and you hear your name being called, as I say, sit with it and just say, okay, I'm here, I hear you. What else can you give me? What else do you want to say? It's basically, the spirit world at times will do anything and everything to get your attention. And then once they've got your attention, it's what you decide to do with it.
That's interesting as well. We just said, no, it's strange. It's usually when family are away.
Yeah.
And maybe not having that disturbance of family around. He's got that quiet space.
Yeah.
Yeah. Has he been sending out a thought, though? That's the thing. Has there been some situation in his personal life that he has sent out a thought for help or for guidance or for understanding?
Or is there a reason per se whereby Chris may feel that they're calling his name or wanting to come close or wanting to connect with him in a certain way? Normally, as I say, it's obviously, as we know, it's a sharing, it's a blending, as such. So if there's a need on behalf of Chris to connect with a loved one and hears his name called, then it's confirmation that yes, we're here. Yes, we hear you. We're just letting you know that we're here.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's hard to say exactly what's happening. But if it's happened a few times, then I would sit with it because obviously got attention because he shared it with us. So now it's up to Chris if he wishes to explore that, to know why his name is being called, to just sit in the silence if he can spend time and just, again, going back to my earlier teachings, experience everything but expect nothing. Because it's in the quiet of the times, that the best work is being done, and to trust and to know, oh, I was getting on great there for a while and now I'm getting nothing. then there's a change in team, change in your guys, there's a change in energy. You know, you're moving forward. There's something changing within you. The things just going a bit quiet, that there's readjustments or something happening, and then you'll take off again. So
yeah, it's just a thank you. Yeah, it's been a long time. It started, but never looked into it. So
it went off.
yeah,
Yeah, so it went off. My phone just went off peculiarly on its own.
Okay.
so it's a message for Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
Actually come up, it's the bins. So I don't know if Chris can take anything to do with that, but if that spirit blame, it's something to do with putting the bins out.
Yeah, and music playing.
Maybe there's a bit of rubbish he needs to get rid of, or a bit of clearing in the house, like to make space or whatever. But yeah,
sorry guys, can I just say we want to, both of us, and Anthony feels exactly the same way.
Yeah.
It's been a real privilege tonight to have you guys on and to share your philosophy and your understanding and your knowledge, which is really important. And so many comments have been coming up saying what a lovely evening, what a lovely couple. And I do feel we both feel privileged to have you on the Spiritual Talk. So thank you.
I must say, it's the quickest an hour and a half I think we've ever had on this show. Not only am I speaking for both of us as well, because we talk as a team, don't we, mate? But captivating all the way through. I'm definitely going to watch the replay back as well, so I can take more in as well.
Decipher the accents.
Yeah, and also, I know I can take a lot out of that myself, what you said tonight, which will not only help me as as a medium as well going forwards as well, and I don't mind saying that and being honest about that as well. So like you said the other day when we had the opportunity to talk to you both before and outside of the Spiritual Talk, just to clarify everything, it's about the journey, not the destination, isn't it?
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
The student becomes the teacher, and the teacher becomes the student. So that's what.
Yeah. Well, I think we are forever students, and I don't think we'd ever get to a space where we think we've learned enough, because that's the definition of a good student, that you constantly challenge yourself.
Yeah.
And as our awareness goes.
And it's good. And it's good to have. I say this has been priceless to us. This discussion with you tonight. We're incredibly honoured to be asked, and
it's a privilege to share the space with you, and to get. We were looking forward
and to discuss views and to be open and honest. And so, what's happening in your life? What way do you work? How does it work for me, or whatever? And it's keeping it real, and still it always makes me smile when colleagues of ours saying, I'd love to have a chat with you, but I'm working tomorrow night.
Yeah.
So they're doing a divine service. When you love what you do, it's not work.
Yeah.
And we love what we do, and
it's service. It is service.
The only challenge is what we challenge ourselves to just only ever, just to be the best that we can be at that moment in time, with the possibility of endless.
I was going to say something.
So the only thing I was going to say, the only thing I'm disappointed is there's been no one-liners from you, John, tonight. It's been no.
I've been trying to keep me. I warned him before he came on. I warned him. It's like, no
good
more
behaviour tonight, John.
It's on his best behaviour. God, you don't give him any encouragement.
First impressions last.
Any encouragement. No.
Well, you certainly touched our hearts tonight, and a lot of people that have been listening.
Absolutely.
The other thing, while we're here in this space, just before we go, everybody. Thank you for watching, obviously. But do you want to plug it, mate? Do you want to do the plug?
Yeah, so as you can see, rolling across the bottoms of your screens, everyone, I'm sure, I hope a lot of people haven't already disappeared and come offline. But we are, both of us, aren't we, Paul, doing a demonstration for Down Syndrome Association this Friday. That's at 7:30. Tickets are £7. I sound like a salesman now. And just go on the Eventbrite link as well. If you're on Instagram, it's on there as well. And it doesn't, all the money doesn't go to us guys.
None of it. Every single penny, well, apart from Eventbrite, but let's not mention that. Let's not go into that. But they do all the organisation, so they've got to take something. But unfortunately, it's just one of those things, isn't it? But everything, we're not charging everything that we can earn, and every penny. I mean, I've had one guy, a friend of mine, buy 5 tickets just because he wanted to give. That's great.
Yeah.
And we love that.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'd like to have bums on seats, and obviously we'd like to bring through the messages as well from our loved ones. But no, we hopefully you guys, if you haven't already bought tickets thanks to those who have. But if not, please come and support us.
And the last thing before we dash off, it's the free reading that needs to be as well. So, John, Miriam, choose someone off the comments list. Hopefully they haven't been picked before to receive a free reading by myself, I believe, this week.
It is, mate.
Linda Ray.
Linda Ray is just
wow. Yeah.
No pressure. She's a good medium, Linda. No pressure. So she'll have a check. Little boxes there to tick, mate. So you're like Linda. She's
the questions who's giving who a reading.
Hang on a second. Linda's been on here, hasn't she?
She has. She's been a guest.
Wow, mate. And also paranormal investigators she does with her team.
Oh,
so that'll be awesome. Okay.
Just before we lose time, what a big shout out to Helen for putting us forward and recommending it to you. We're deeply indebted to her.
Yeah, Helen and Katie in the background that are helping us. It's now taking 2 people to help us. We're getting like divas, aren't we, mate?
Yeah, it's getting.
Was it say behind every good man is a wonderful woman?
There's 2, yeah.
There's 2 as well.
Yeah.
There you
go. Okay, guys. Nice to see you. Thanks ever so much.
Thanks ever so much.
Thank you for having us.
Take care.
And see you all next week, everyone who's been watching. Thanks ever so much.
Thanks, everybody. Great.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.